Let me repeat. Misguiding Muslims with optical illusions. What's an optical illusion? An optical illusion is something that tricks your eyes or fools your eyes. So we want to take a look at something that I'm claiming is an optical illusion. And I'm going to argue my point here. And to clarify that, I need to build up to something. So we're going to start by talking about the difference between a place and a direction. The difference between a place and a direction. And we'll see where we go from there. So, some of the Sunni theologians said that the difference between a place and a direction is that place is general and broad. Place does not imply a comparison to something else. A direction, it is a place, but relative to something. So you'd be in a direction from something, or you'd be in the direction of something. That's in itself is comparison. And right here makes it very clear why a so-called Salafi who believes that Allah is in a direction over the throne, Allah is over the throne, it really is comparing Allah to the creations. He's so blind, he can't see that he's comparing Allah to the throne itself by saying Allah is over it. A direction implies a comparison. So be certain that each cardinal direction is different from the other. We did speak about that. You know what the cardinal directions are also. North, south, east, and west. Each one is different from the other. They are not one and the same. This means they are real. They have reality. They are not imaginary. Yani, so then, I'm going to say it all the way out, like this footnote says here, that north is not the same as south, east, or west. South is not the same as north, east, or west. West is not the same as north, south, or west. West is not the same as north, south, or east. Each one is different from the other. But it's possible to blend some of them. So you can get northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast. There's others that you cannot blend. You can't get north, south, and east, west as one direction because those are opposites. Had they all been the same, there would be no way to tell one from the other. Yes, that's very simple. If each direction were same as the other, then how could you tell the difference between them? There wouldn't be a way to. Okay, so that means they are real. They are different from each other. And no one would be able to understand the two opposite directions in what was reported about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yani, if the directions were not different from each other, then you wouldn't have any way to tell one from the other. And if you didn't have any way to tell one direction from another, then how could you understand the hadith? When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam qala biyadih, he said by pointing, إذا غابت الشمس من ها هنا, when instead of if, when the sun disappeared from here, yani disappears. وجاء الليل من ها هنا, and the night comes from here. He's pointing in two different directions. فقد أفطر الصائم, then the fasting person breaks his fast. We have to really explain this. Because when you really think about that, that needs some explaining. It does need some explaining. That tells you where the situation gone to. Some directions are different but not opposites. Different but not opposites. That's important there. Log that is one of your mental rules. Mental rules. That different does not mean necessarily opposite. Different does not necessarily mean opposite. What are opposites? Opposites cancel each other out. Opposites cancel each other out. Different things don't cancel each other out just because they're different. Opposites, though, will cancel each other out, like standing and sitting. So some directions are different, but they're not opposites. So if they're not opposite, that means they don't cancel each other out. They're just different. And then since they don't cancel each other out, you can actually blend them. You can fuse them. You can blend them. So it is possible to have southeast, northeast, southwest, and northwest. But some directions are polar opposites of each other, meaning on the complete uh, opposite spectrum from each other. So it is impossible to have east-west or west-east or south-north or north-south. That's impossible. Would someone contradict this? SubhanAllah. Would someone put a string over a globe to prove the Qibla? Oh, the answer to the last one is yes, as that was done. That implies that the answer to the first question is yes. Would someone contradict this? That's a question. It's a rhetorical question. The meaning of it is this should be so obvious that we don't even have to talk about it. But now that we have talked about it and we see how obvious and clear it is, would someone contradict this? So, as if the answer is the question, the following question: would someone put a string over a globe to prove the Qibla? So, what's the answer to the second question? Yes, although it's a wrong thing. So, this implies the answer to the first question is also yes, someone would contradict this. Now, Bismillah. Okay, we have this diagram here. It's called Nuh color diagram 1. And this is scanned from his book, Port in a Storm. It says down on the bottom, figure 3, footsteps across the North Pole. So that's from the book. So you see here this square. I will describe what is here. There's a square here. In this square, there's a center. And from this center, there are lines that go off into the corners of this square, the 4 corners of this square. Not perfectly, but approximately. And also, you can see the square for yourself has corresponding lines here. What's going on here? What's going on here is that this is an attempt to flatten something that's bending. Although, that's the exact reason they say they don't want a flat map, because it's not a globe. This image really defeats the purpose of not even using a flat map. If you can use this, then for sure you should be able to use a flat map. Well, I will say you can't use this. This is fallacious. But flat map is fine. It's not a Qibla proof. The map itself is not a Qibla proof, but it does not go against the Qibla proofs. Not the flat map nor the globe, neither of them. What's the problem with this picture here? So we see, let's notice some things here. If we start in the top right corner of this square, we can see it says south going towards the corner. Now, if we just go down to the corresponding corner, you see also says south. It's in different direction though. Somebody might stop me here to try to argue here. That's why we made all of that introduction there. The directions are different from each other. And it's not going to have two different directions that are the same direction. So you have south going in two different directions here. And now if we go over to the left bottom corner, it doesn't have a south arrow, but it has a north arrow going the other way. It has north arrow going towards the top of the page. This means that going towards the corner is south. So this picture confirms south in four different directions. And likewise, north. Yani by extension, confirms north in four different directions. So, someone might say, this picture is perfectly fine. You don't know what you're looking at. You see, when you're at the North Pole, which is the center dot here, every direction from that spot is south. Don't you know? So we talked about that before. That's not true. Why it's not true? Because really, this dot here in the center, this very center dot, it is so vast, very wide, meaning much bigger than the footprint that's next to it. One other problem with this picture here is that the footprint next to the dot is supposed to be smaller than the dot. All those footprints are supposed to be inside that dot by far. That's nothing but a couple steps there. That's walking across a room somewhere, a small room. Just those footsteps there. But that's not what's intended by this image. What's intended by this image is that these footsteps are covering many, many, many miles. In other words, these footsteps are huge in the scale, according to the scale here, even though there's no key to determine the scale here. But I'm unraveling the optical illusion for you. That's the meaning here. In reality, this dot in the middle is way vaster than all of those footsteps combined. All of them should not even show up. And therefore, all this area around is not like this, south going in every direction. Inside that dot, there's four directions. Each one is different from the other, not one direction going off in different directions. What's the problem with these footsteps being so big? You don't know that if you don't know what you're looking at. You are fooled. You are deceived. And that's only one thing. You think that's you in the snow there leaving your footprints going across the North Pole? Was that the intent there? There's no key for measuring the distance here. No. Rather, these are exaggerated, very large. Because, why? How do we know? Because their claim, what they're trying to claim to you in the first place is, notice this bold line here, the one that the footsteps are taking. What does it say here? It says, if we start from the bottom on the left-hand side, and we're going up, it says north, following the footsteps here. This is supposed to be north, 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 till we get to the North Pole. And what this is supposed to be saying is, and now you're not going to make any turn. And guess what's going to happen to you? Without you turning one single bit, you're going to become walking south. And this is how they are attempting to answer a question, which is, how can we face northeast if the Mecca is closer to the equator than we are? Both of us are north of the equator. We're north of the equator, and Mecca is north of the equator. But Mecca's closer to the equator than we are. So, how can we say that we're not turning? So, someone said, I'll draw it on a piece of paper for you. This is how. So, he came up with this here. This is supposed to mean that a person went from north to south without turning. So, if you don't know better, you'll think, wow, because what's going to happen is if you didn't know better, you wouldn't think that this person is trying to deceive you. So he's saying, look, wow, look, this is what the Sheikh says right here. This is the answer here. This is how you're going to go from north to south without turning. So what they are saying, in order to achieve that, you must cover many, many, many miles. Many. Because this, you can't achieve it in the number of steps that are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you say to the person, I want you to take 12 steps. And in those 12 steps, you go from north to south without turning. You won't be able to. So what's his answer going to be? His answer is going to be, no, I can't do it. This requires many miles. So this right here, this is supposed to be many miles? These 12 footsteps covered many miles here? Yeah. You'd say, yeah, this is just an example here. So then this leads to something else. Who did that? Same question we posed several other times. Who did such a thing? Who walked all those miles without turning? And went from north to south without turning? Nobody did so. That's important. And nobody will do so also. And what you should know that this picture really, what it really means is that this straight line that's going from the bottom right corner to the top left corner, or bismillah, right, left, I'm backwards here. This one that's going from the bottom left corner to the top right corner, what this picture really means that this line is bending. This line is bending here. So that's an optical illusion. Is that clear? Do you understand what I'm saying? If this picture were reality, this line would for sure be bending. It's not going to be straight like that. You cannot go from north to south without turning. They're opposite directions. Yani, the south is the other way completely. You're not going to be going north and keep going the same way and then be south. So how are they going to challenge you there? They're going to say, so what you're saying, the earth is flat? No, I'm not saying the earth is flat. Well, I'm telling you that what you're saying is a theory. You can't do it. You're just theorizing. Because we know for sure that north is the opposite of south. It's the other way. There are two opposite directions. At any moment, if you're going north, the only way for you to go south is to turn around. At any moment. At any moment, if you're going north, at any time, at anywhere you are, if you are going north, the only way you're going to go south is if you turn around. If you have any questions, go ahead. Let me read here. The goal of this image is to delude a Muslim into thinking that it is possible to go north and then south without ever turning, or that it is possible to turn while staying in the same direction. Either of those two. Those both mean the same thing. Yani, this is an intellectual fallacy here. This is intellectual fallacy here. The meaning of this square with these lines here is that either you can go from north to south without turning, or that you can turn without, or that you can turn and stay in the same direction. To delude the Muslim into thinking that it is possible to go north and then south without ever turning, or to turn while staying in the same direction. Because that's another way to interpret this line. You're going north. Now you're going south. But it looks like you stayed in the same direction. Can we say you turn? So someone might say, yeah, officially, right here, that's an official turn. You didn't physically turn. That's an official turn. What's the answer for that? We answered it already. That's why we said the directions are real. It's not official turn, not real turn, official turn. Official turn means that's not real. We're just going to call it a turn for our convenience because we ran into a contradiction. That's what it means. Official turn here means we ran into a contradiction. So let's move the goalpost. Is this clear? This, mashallah, really saddens me, this one here, because I feel bad that a lot of Muslims looked at this and thought that this was something. The very moment I laid eyes on it, I knew that it was nothing. Years ago, when this book was first published.
Wa
alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Where does this book originally come from?
You said, where did this book come from?
Yes.
This is from the book of Nuh Keller, called Port in a Storm. Okay. That's taking advantage of Muslims there. That's taking advantage of the Muslims there. And that goes to show you that the state of the layman, that how many people could see that and think that it's right. So the goal of this image is to delude a Muslim into thinking that it is possible to go north and then south without ever turning, or to turn while staying in the same direction. It also links travel and movement to the prayer direction. We already said that's not a condition. Movement is not a condition. Travel route, plotting courses is not a condition for the Qibla. This image doubles down on making travel interconnected to the Qibla. The translation of this diagram is, this is why northeast prayer direction is valid. Yani, this is as if the one who made this image here is saying this. This is why northeast prayer direction is valid, even in northernmost Canada. Although Mecca is south of the southernmost USA. Yeah, Yani, they're saying, we know. We're in northernmost Canada. Mecca is south of southernmost USA. Yes, but see, you don't understand how maps work, and you don't know about geography and geometry. Because this curve makes a difference. There's great circle theory. Either you did not really make any turn, and it is all one direction, or you turned, but in reality you stayed in the same direction. This is what they're saying. In my experience, that is. And they're saying you didn't really turn. Both of these mean the same thing. They're saying you think there's a turn because there's a curve in the earth. But that's not why, because really there is a turn. There is a curve and there's a turn, both of those. And the reason why you are making that turn is because of the curve. You're avoiding the curve in a travel. You're avoiding a curve in the travels like there's a big mound, a big hump, a huge mountain of ocean. Instead of flying over that whole mountain of ocean, you went around it, going first northeast, but you are going to turn and go back southeast and wind up southeast ultimately. No, what I'm saying is there's two things here. One, how is the world? I think I had some. There's a picture that I had I don't have here, I think, anymore. How is the world, Yanni, and our relation to it? Yanni, there's angles. There's three angles: horizontal angle, diagonal angle, and vertical angle. For us, what we perceive is like horizontal, a line across, going side to side. So even if you are flying in an airplane, for example, in reality, your feet's going to be down towards the ground, right? Your feet's going to be down towards the ground. Your head's still going to be up towards the sky if you were in an airplane, just like if you were in a car. This is how you are in relation to the earth. Your feet, the earth is beneath your feet, the sky is over your head. If you were in a car, this would be the case. If you were in a plane, that will still be the case. And the issue is that between the North American continent and uh, Mecca, there's an ocean, Atlantic Ocean. This Atlantic Ocean is basically like a huge mountain. So instead of flying over this mountain, which is going to take a long time, not that you won't get there, but it's going to take a long time, you have to cover more ground. Then because it's curved there, you're going to go around it. You're going to go around it. That's your why you're going northeast from New York. Why are you going northeast from New York in the first place? If Mecca really is southeast of us, why would you go northeast from New York? It's because there's something you want to avoid. That's why. What are you avoiding? You are avoiding a big mountain. You want to go around it. So you went northeast, but you're eventually going to turn and go southeast. This is the way it really is here. But in their minds, because they see the earth as a ball like the globe, and it's also, according to them, tilted. So basically diagonal. In their minds, the world we are on is diagonal, though we do not perceive this diagonal angle, which they call it's on being on its axis. Rather, all that we perceive is horizontal. We perceive the world horizontally. Yani, when we look into the distance, we see the horizon from side to side. That's how we structure our things, and that's how our tables are and our floors. So this is how we really perceive the world according to them, and that's really how it is too. That's really how it is. According to them, it's like the globe, like a ball, or almost like a ball, and it is tilted, so it's diagonal, and not to mention they're saying it's spinning. So, and in their comprehension, going north is like going up. This is true too. This is not a lie. They're not going to say that, but they might say that, might slip. That's why you might not have noticed. I try not to say up and north and high. Try to separate these. Not that you can't say it, but because some people really think north is up. That Yanni, some people really think if you're going north, you're going up. You're not going up if you're going north. Know that. If you thought that because you're going north, you're going up, and if you're going south, you're going down, you are not. It's all horizontal. So, but in their minds, north is up, south is down, and the earth is diagonal. The spinning part is irrelevant here. And They put a string over the globe. This string represents to them a straight line that is not turning. Uh, if it weren't for the fact that it's not a mere ball, then they might maybe have had something there. But there's a fact that they are ignoring, which is that there's actually a map on that ball. Map has a grid on it. And according to where the string lines on that grid, according to how the string falls on that grid, that is not a straight line at all. Not by any stretch of the imagination. And that's when you get into uh, gaslight territory. That's when you get into gaslight territory. Then it's going to be a matter of talking a person into something. It's going to be two reasons you're going to be able to talk them into this here. Either because he just doesn't know, or because he cannot put the facts together that you're telling you. And he's not smart enough to put it together right to know you're saying something wrong. So when they think that because they're going north, they're going up, and when they're going south, they're going down, and because they see the earth is on an axis, they don't see it horizontal. They don't see the ground is horizontal as it really is in reality. In other words, how airplane's going to be able to do a turn like that? How's he going to do a turn like that without turning? How could he do a turn like that without turning? If the only reason he's turning is because he's going up and then going down. This is what they are saying. This is what they are saying. Yani, if you're going up a mountain, then you're going down the mountain. You're turning in a way, which is you're going up, then you're going down. But if you're going forward in the process, then you're going to say you're not turning from the perspective that you're going forward only. So if you're going forward and there's a mountain there, and you need to go up the mountain and then down the mountain, but you're only going forward, then in a way it's valid to say that you did not turn. You didn't turn with the meaning that you never deviated from forward. But in a way, you did turn in the meaning that you went up and then you went down. This is what they are saying. That's what this means. So then, if that's the case, it means they believe north is up and south is down. They do. They believe north is up and south is down. They're going to sit there and argue with me and tell me that they don't believe somebody's upside down also. Yep, I know you believe somebody's upside down. You're just going to deny it right now because I'm challenging you on the absurdity of it. I'm going to reword it now so it doesn't sound so absurd. So is this clear? Even if the airplane part's not clear, don't worry about it. It's enough that they believe that north is up and south is down. This picture means here that they think that they're going up, 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 up till you get to the North Pole, then you got to the top. Now just keep going forward. Now you're going down, 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 going down towards south. That's how come you turned. That's how you turned. You didn't really turn. This is what they are saying. This is what this is saying. North is not up, south is not down. This is very important. The directions go off into the horizon.
Shake this stuff. I understand. When I'm hearing from their perspective, it gives me a headache.
This would mean that north and south are the same direction. So, and that's what they are saying. This is what this picture also means. North and south are the same direction. This is what this picture means here. It is therefore valid to call the bold line in this diagram north-south or south-north. So they innovated a direction. North-south. However, this optical illusion truly hides a right turn, as we shall see. A right turn, yes. It's a right turn going east. This is a right turn here. From the bottom corner to the top corner, that's a right turn. Going east. Going back west, it's a left turn.
Sheikh,
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, uh, this whole discussion with regards to what you're showing on the image, are you saying that they're using travel as their basis of arguing prayer direction?
Is that their basis right here? Uh, well,
Like when we show
this,
this line, we show these footsteps and everything.
yeah. The meaning of this, the point of this, and its
It looks
goal,
like a traveling picture.
it is. But it's not so much to say, it's not his point to say that travel is needed for the Qibla by this picture. It is his point to say here that what you think is a turn is not really a turn. Because we're saying to them, that's not a straight line. You're putting a string over the globe and it's not a straight line. They're saying, yes, it is, brother. You don't know. So then that this is the string on the globe here rendered into a flat image and slightly adjusted too to go over the North Pole, not starting from New York per se. That's clear?
So they're using the image to still show direction of prayer, but in just in a non-changing direction per se, by saying this is
Yani,
a straight line.
the exact line that is changing, the point of this picture is to tell you that it's not changing. What we are saying, it is not a straight line. They're saying, yes, it is a straight line. Here is how we would render it on a flat image so that you can see that it's a straight line.
Okay,
Therefore,
understood.
huh?
Understood. Lofik.
I mean, Wafiq. Yeah. Uh, okay. So, to explain all of this, why we said all these things we said here, I'll repeat it right now. It says, be certain that each cardinal direction is different from the other. Each one is different. Not that there's different ones and they are the same. This one means here, south is over here, south is over here, south is over here. Three different directions that are the same direction? No. Be certain, be sure. Don't doubt at all that each direction is different from the other one. You're not going to have south in three, four different directions. They are not one and the same. And what does this mean here? If south is going in all these four corners, one of these four corners is south, but north is the opposite of south, so it means that each one of these four corners is north too, because each one of these four corners is the opposite of the other one. So, Yani, this is an example of what people mean when they say looks good on paper, but actually, Yani, in execution, is quite flawed. And this is a riddle here. This is a riddle. It's a puzzle. Be certain that each cardinal direction is different from the other. They are not one and the same. Had they all been the same, then there would be no way to tell one direction from the other. If they were all the same, how could you tell one direction from the other? Now, according to this, you cannot tell because this south down here, that's north. And this south up here, that's north too. And south over there, that's north too. And in between those, there's south, which is north too. then no one would know, no one would be able to understand what the Prophet was saying when he said, when the sun disappears from here and the night comes from here, the fasting person breaks his fast. The Prophet ﷺ was pointing in two different directions. When the night comes from here, when the sun disappears from here, when the sun disappears from here, and the night comes from here, he was pointing in two different directions. So, yeah, according to this image right there, you're not even going to know what the Prophet was talking about. And now, some directions are different but not opposite. Different but not opposite. So that's an important difference to make. The difference between different and opposite. Opposites cancel out each other. Opposites are mutually exclusive. Can't have both of them at the same time in the same place, in the same vessel. But different things don't cancel out each other. So we have four directions. Some of them are just different from the others, and some of them are not merely different. Some of them are opposite to the others. So when the directions are merely different from each other, not opposite, then you can blend them. You can say southeast, northeast, southwest, northwest. You can fuse those because they're not contrary to each other. But some of the directions are polar opposites of each other, so it is impossible to merge them. They cancel each other out. You cannot have east-west or west-east, and you cannot have south-north or north-south, like you can have southeast, northeast, southwest, or northwest. And then came the question, would someone contradict this? Yani, when you lay it out like they say, sure. Yani, that's fine. Unless some person already was well rooted in arguments for Northeast. Then, when you get to this period right here, so it is impossible to have East-West or West-East or South-North or North-South. If he is firmly rooted in Northeast arguments, Northeast argumentation, then he will say, no, not true. Because he needs to be able to confirm North-South and South-North. Like here. This line here is north-south. And going back the other way is south-north. And also this line here, this is north-south. And this other way is south-north. So would someone contradict this? Would someone put a string over a globe to prove the Qibla? So, any question? Okay. Now, when I go over these things, if you have some question that crosses your mind, if you suppose that someone would make some kind of argument, pose it. Unless you can just clearly see that that argument has an answer, you don't want to pose it. And so that we can do mock discourse here. This is training. So, here, expect any of three outcomes from anyone stubbornly arguing for Northeast Qibla here in this point. One, that he's going to drop out of the debate, but without conceding. Yani say, I'm done here, but he won't concede. This for me so often is a cop-out for any person. Aren't there times when you stop talking because you find that the debate is fruitless? Yes, there is. But aren't there times when a person is too arrogant to admit the truth, and so he says, this is fruitless. He has no answer in reality, but he's too arrogant, so he's just going to say, this is fruitless. I might as well stop here. That's when it's a cop-out. So he drops out of the debate, but without conceding. The second one is to explicitly say that it is correct that one can turn and stay in the same direction. That's another answer you can expect. You can expect that he will say, I heard some say, yes, you can turn and stay in the same direction. So what do you do? Tell him, show me. He's not going to be able to. So what if you never told him, show me? Then how are you going to argue this point with him? You're going to just keep arguing about angles and globes and latitude and longitude? Tell him, show me. Make him tell you. I can't do it. Okay. So who can do it? And he's going to tell you it requires so many miles. All right. Well, looks like nobody ever did it, though. Might say, no, they did it. Who did it? I don't have any names for you. All right, then don't make the claim then. Still not equipped for the discussion then. You're making claims without being able to back them up. Yeah, because he thinks he should be able to make claims without having to back them up. So when you and the third thing is to explicitly say that one can move in two opposite directions without turning and without moving backwards. 2 and 3 are basically the same thing though. So if he says, you ignorant one, you can go in two directions without turning, or you can turn without changing directions. Yeah, he's looking at you like, hello? This is a serious gaslighting going on here. He's gonna say, because the earth is not flat. So then you say to him, show me, go in two directions without turning, or turn without changing directions, since the earth is not flat. And he will not be able to. So when he can't, then I'm going to say to him, so don't make this claim. It appears your claim is false. If he says, I cannot demonstrate that for you because I would need vast distance to cover, then say, then you don't have any evidence more than a theory. You have something you are imagining. You are basing religious rules on your imagination. Maybe it would say, no, it's not my imagination. That's what the scholars say. Or say to him, then it's your collective imaginations. You have agreed to imagine something. It doesn't matter what shape the earth is. What you are saying is impossible. Oh, educated one. That you can go in two different directions without turning. Two opposite directions. Opposite. What does it say here? Let's make sure the words are right. Here, expect any of three outcomes from anyone stubbornly arguing for Northeast Qibla. To drop out of the debate without conceding. To explicitly say that it is correct that one can turn and stay in the same direction. Or to explicitly say that one can move in two opposite directions, yes, without turning. Or moving backwards also. Moving backwards, we're going to count that as turning. He's going to say, no, you're not moving backwards either. Still going straight, not turning, not going backwards, and then you will go in two different directions, two opposite directions. So, you say to him, what you are saying is impossible, oh educated one. Yeah, I know you can't do it. So fear Allah. Don't say this. Don't use this as argument for our religion. Directions are not stuck to the surface so that the earth's shape would even matter. Directions are not stuck to the surface. The directions transcend the surface. The directions transcend the terrain. This is repetition. We've said it several times now. We need to keep repeating these in different spots to make the whole case so clear. Meaning, you have mountains, valleys, oceans. All this terrain is curving, bending, going up, going down, etc. None of that changes what north or south or east or west is. If the terrain does not affect the directions, then the whole shape of the earth is not going to affect the directions. And if he says, regardless of the names north or south, it is a single direction without turning. Forward. What's that? That's moving the goalpost there. He didn't let him get out of what he was trying to do. But he didn't want to stop doing it. So he had to change the words. He said, well, no, it was forward. Then say, if that is all that matters, then why do you call your line northeast? Why don't you just call it forward? And you say the directions in the issue of the Qibla are cardinal directions, not relative directions. And you know what relative directions are and what cardinal directions are. We started that from the beginning of the booklet. If he says, prove it, even though he never gave you a proof for anything, then say God's statement. وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. By the star they are guided. Does the star guide them forward and backward, or does the star guide them north and south? Answer me. If he's so stubborn, he's going to say forward and backward. Doesn't want to answer. Doesn't want to accept. May Allah make us amongst those who accept the truth. Ameen. We have to be willing to accept the truth for us or against us. And also, there's a Quranic Qibla verse that cites the cardinal direction specifically. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. To Allah belongs the east and the west. So whichever way you turn in the voluntary prayer upon an animal while traveling, then that direction is valid to Allah. That's the meaning of the ayah. So when he said, prove it here, prove what? Prove that we're not concerned with the relative directions here. We're concerned with the cardinal directions. And according to the way this debate just came out, the way it was presented here as I'm reading, he didn't say it was forward until he got cornered there. Once he ran out of the ability to use the words the way he wanted to, he didn't want to change. So he just selected a new word. He moved the goalpost there, as they say. He said it's all forward. So we say, yani, we debunk that. And we say, what? The directions for the Qibla are cardinal, not relative. Forward is a relative direction. The Qibla directions are cardinal directions. East, north, south, and west. Not forward, backwards, right, left, front, back, up, down. So he says, prove it. Even though he never tried to even prove anything by any religious way. Then you say to him what God said. وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. By the star they are guided. Maybe you say, what does that prove? Say to him, did they use the star to go forward and backward, or they use the star for north and south? Yani for north, which by extension gives them south. So maybe he'll just stop talking to you. Or maybe he will be bent on contradicting you. So he might say forward and backwards, bro. It's all the same. That's when you can drop out of the conversation here. Because you're dealing with someone who's being stubborn. Not because you don't have an answer. That's not a cop-out there. But if there's people listening to you and you see that he's just dancing around, just never wanting to answer you in the way that stops him, that means he's being a troll, then you can talk to the audience. And there's another Qibla proof that mentions the cardinal directions. سيقول السفهاء من الناس ما ولاهم عن قبلتهم التي كانوا عليها قل لله المشرق والمغرب. يهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. The fools amongst the Jews and the hypocrites and the pagans will say, what turned them from their Qibla of the boulder of Bayt al-Maqdis that they were facing? What made the Muslims stop facing the Qibla of the Israelites? Say, to Allah belongs east and west, and every direction. There is no objection to him. Whatever he commands to be done is what shall be done, is what should be done. And he guides whomever he wills to a straight path. Ila siratin mustaqim. To a straight path means to a correct qibla, according to An-Nasafi. And also, here's more proof, more religious qibla proof that mentions the cardinal directions. Since the companions in Medina were north of the Kaaba, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught them, إذا أتيتم الغائط فلا تستقبلوا القبلة ولا تستدبروها ببول ولا غائط ولكن شرقوا أو غربوا. If you go to the lavatory or if you go to the outhouse, when you go to relieve yourself out in the open though, do not face the Qibla and do not turn your back to it while urinating or defecating. Face east or west. Told them that because they were north of the Kaaba. So since they're north of the Kaaba, they cannot urinate facing north or south. So he told them, Shariku or Gharibu, face east or west when you are here in this area urinating or defecating in the open. And we already said what Abu Hanifa said, Al-Mashriqu Qiblatu Ahli al-Maghrib. East is the Qibla of the people of the West. Wal-Maghribu Qiblatu Ahli al-Mashriq. And West is the Qibla of the people of the East. Wal-Janubu Qiblatu Ahli al-Shimal. And the South is the Qibla of the people of the North. Wa-Shimalu Qiblatu Ahli al-Janub. And the North is the Qibla of the people of the South. Completely lacking self-awareness, he does not have any religious proof that the directions of the Qibla are anything other than cardinal. He's saying to you, prove it. He has no proof that the directions for the Qibla are other than cardinal. If the Northeaster were not one of those who disregard the scholars, and he found authentic scholarly talk about the Qibla, in which they mention forward or behind or the like. Yeah, it's not impossible. I'm not saying they never talk about forward or behind here. But if he found something like that, it would be secondary explanation based on proofs presented. It's not going to be that he's using forward or behind as the Qibla direction itself. Like, for example, they say in the books, if you are in Yemen, then put the North Star to yourself like this. If you are in Syria, you can put the North Star like this. They're saying in front of you or behind you, or put the North Star to your right or put it to your left. They say if you are in this country, put the North Star in front of you, and if you are in this country, put the North Star behind you. Like this, you would find. That it's not saying north, yani in front or behind is the Qibla direction. He merely selected those quotes for something they do not support if he were to bring such a thing. Another problem with this optical illusion is that it implies or suggests that there's a place where east and west and north and south all become south. We covered that. Yeah, one of the meanings in that picture is that all the directions are the same. In the imaginary world, meaning in theory, this place is where imaginary lines converge. So that's how a person falls into such a blunder. He sees the globe. He sees where lines converge on the globe. He believes the earth is like the globe. He equates the earth to the globe. He even thinks that he is literally tilted, though he cannot perceive that. And so he thinks that as if there are lines grafted over the earth that all merge into the same place, just like on the globe. And uh, and so then, if it's like that, that means every direction from that spot is south. So then, in his mind, therefore, there's a place in the world where every direction is south. In the imaginary world, which is theory, this place is where imaginary lines converge. Yani, this is where he equated the earth to a globe. Lines that they would turn around and altogether reject if used to debunk the northeast Qibla. Yani the same lines that they are using to say, look how they all converge on this one spot. And therefore, from this spot, every direction is south. Those very same lines, if you use those lines to say, but look how the line you put over the globe is actually, according to these lines, turning. Not according to you merely putting your string on a ball, but according to the way to read these lines on the ball, your string is turning, then they're going to refute those lines. In the real world, this place does not exist, the place where every direction is south. In this theoretical place where south goes in four directions, a person could face the direction behind him. That's what it would mean. That a person could face the direction behind him. So the issue is that you might find yourself talking to a person and say, yeah, that's right. What's wrong with you? So uh, in this imaginary theoretical place, a person could face the direction behind him, and that direction would be his right left. There is no real situation in which someone who wants to pray would be seeking such a borderline for the Qibla. Here, this should be a new paragraph. Uh, inshallah, everything's clear so far. Okay. There is no real situation in which someone who wants to pray would be seeking such a borderline for the Qibla. Meaning, you are a human being on the earth. Are you going to be like you're in the Woody Woodpecker cartoon with a map and you're taking steps, you're counting your steps? See, right here. No, you're not going to be. There's no real situation in which someone who wants to pray would be seeking such a borderline for the Qibla, some line on the ground. He would not use a drawn map and a compass, for instance, and look at his surroundings and then say, X marks the spot. If I take one step forward, I'll cross an imaginary line, and then I'll be in the west and no longer in the east. And hence my Qibla is like this. But if I take a step backwards, then now my Qibla is like that. And it changes just because I took one step here and one step there. And because these directions are not really real, we are assigning these directions. And I can make an official turn without actually uh, shifting without reorienting myself. So that's all theoretical. Perhaps the photographs of the North Pole are more accurate than these theories. Perhaps the photographs of the North Pole are more accurate than these theories. What photographs of the North Pole? Yani, the so-called photographs of the so-called North Pole. Google it if you want to see what, yani, type in North Pole uh, images. Then they're going to show you whatever they show you is going to look like any place, any other place you ever saw. So, and it is said that the North Pole is actually not a stable landmass. That's another actually important point or factoid, that it is said that the North Pole is not a particularly stable landmass. It's not on one of the continents, and it's someplace you can go and be there. So keep that in mind. Means, according to that, you will not actually probably go there. Maybe there would be just water there, according to what I researched. I never went there. Or maybe there would be ice there, according to them. So that means that we are definitely dealing with theory. I mean, unless somebody went with a boat there and made certain verifications, knowing that those are the same people who say, "What are you saying? You're going to fall off of the earth?" I'm not saying you're going to fall off the earth. You're the one who doesn't realize how much you are indulging in theory and imagination. Maybe when he imagines North Pole, he uses a movie that he saw to fill in the gap for him in his imagination. So perhaps the photographs of the North Pole are more accurate than these theories. They show it to be a place like every other place with four cardinal directions. And it doesn't look like the Twilight Zone or something. Including the direction of sunrise. There at the North Pole, what if someone says, sun doesn't rise every day there? Say to him, futile. That's a futile factoid. Doesn't have to rise every day. Wherever it rises from, that's the east, not the south. فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق. Certainly Allah brings the sun from the east. That's what the Quran says. Don't you believe in the Quran? He's not going to comment on the ayah here, or he's going to try to tell you it has a ta'wil. Tell him which ta'wil you have here. You don't have any reference for your ta'wil. Do you have a tafsir book that explains this ayah the way you're trying to explain it? That how's he trying to explain it? He's trying to explain it that the sun rises from the east, except at the North Pole though, and the North Pole rises in the south. So then the ayah needs clarification, according to him. Where he got this clarification from? And not from any tafsir. Yani, in the first place, he didn't know the ayah. When he tells you the ayah needs, is explained this way or that way, he's responding to you in the moment. He's freestyling. The Quran says Allah brings the sun from the east. Where do you have any evidence to say otherwise? How could so many Muslims fall into such a massive blunder? Part of it is Western education that speaks about the creation of Allah ignorantly. Excuse me. Yes. And this is a delicate part of the conversation, though. Challenging modern theories and famous claims in Western education. Because maybe this person you're talking to has a master's or a PhD. Maybe he's an engineer. So sometimes when people have some what's regarded as high education, they also, what happens, their feet kind of lift off the ground too. They start, they get their head in the clouds. They're floating. Subhanallah. So they might have some arrogance. So part of it is Western education. It speaks about the creation of Allah ignorantly and also not knowing what to believe as a Muslim. Because if we learn the tafsir of the Quran and the explanations of the hadiths, we're going to say the earth is still. We're not going to say it's tilted. We're not going to say that there's no up and no down. We're not going to say uh, that up and down is relative to the core of the earth only. Beyond that, there is no up or down, because that would just mean there is no up or down. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. We're not going to say the universe is endless void of blackness and those things. We're going to say there's a physical object called sama, sky, or firmament. There's not a bubble around the earth. There's not a blue bubble around the earth. We're going to say the sun is moving. وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍّ لَهَا. The sun is running in its own pathway. So that's what we're going to get from the Quran without any interference from some science magazines, without any disturbance from some foreign sources. Some non-Muslims have even written articles insulting North American Muslims for a mistake not made by a middle schooler. And yet another problem with that diagram is that the footsteps truly represent a person tall enough to walk across continents. Truly represents a person tall enough to walk across continents in single steps. The only way the center dot could validly represent anywhere in the world on which we live, it would have to represent an area wide enough for 4 directions. That dot, this dot here in the middle, if it represents somewhere in the world we live in, on the earth here, it's a place that has 4 directions. And according to the point they want to make here, these footsteps should all fit inside of that dot. Question, it says nowadays they bring a new twist to this matter by saying what they've got a fatwa that says both directions, northeast and southeast, to be valid for prayer. Have you come across this? Yes, and we've covered this, and we'll cover it again more. I would say to a person, one who gave you that fatwa made a mistake. Probably he'd say, who are you? I'm going to say, I'm a person who learned the rule. So he might say, you think they don't know? I'm going to say, if that's the answer he gave you, then he doesn't know. So what he's going to say? Maybe he'll say, all right, brother, whatever. You're insulting the scholars. I'll say, I'm just telling you that they gave you a mistake. And I probably would say to him, and you cannot defend that fatwa. You can only say that they said it. The only thing you're capable of doing is saying that someone said it. You're not capable of defending it. So your case is the case of someone who told you something that you want to hear. I'm telling you it's wrong though. And you don't care that I'm telling you it's wrong because what I'm telling you is not what you want to hear. So if you cared that I'm telling you it's wrong, despite that they told you it's right, meaning if you would just entertain the possibility that they are wrong, then you're going to look further into the issue. But if it's enough for them that they told you what you want to hear, then it's going to be enough for you, even though you can't defend it. I'm telling you, they told you what they told you is wrong, and I can defend what I am saying. Maybe they would say, but it's their ijtihad. You can't say it's wrong. I'm going to say ijtihad has rules. If their ijtihad doesn't go according to the rules, it's an invalid ijtihad. Says, like we already said, some people think ijtihad just means any way you got to the answer. It's not any way you got to the answer. It's not simply that you did something to get to an answer and then you say this is my ijtihad and therefore you can't tell me I'm wrong. No, ijtihad itself has rules. So you're going to tell me it's ijtihad, I can't say it's wrong. I'm going to tell you, let's talk about the rules of ijtihad then. If you tell me I cannot talk about the rules of ijtihad, then I'm going to tell you, okay, then you're not equipped then for this conversation. And this ijtihad of theirs, I'm telling you it's wrong. And if you want, you can listen to me tell you about the rules of ijtihad so you can understand what I'm trying to say to you. If you don't want to listen to me, it means that you just want to take something someone told you. Someone told you something that you want to take, so you're just going to take it. You can follow up with that if you want to. And I want to mention too, Alhamdulillah, I didn't forget. If you remember last time I told you that a person stood up to me here and he said that, remember, we quoted that Maliki quote. And he told me, spare me this Maliki quote. Bring me a Hanafi quote. How do you know there's not a difference in opinion in the Hanafi school? Yani, a saying different from what this Maliki is confirming about the Hanafis. And then I told him, this Maliki knows better about the Hanafi school than you. I challenge you. So then he wound up telling me, well, what you are arguing is merely the dominant saying in the Maliki, in the Hanafi school. So I told him, so now you're mad at me for arguing the dominant saying of the Hanafi school. Yeah, you didn't realize what you were setting yourself up for here in this conversation. You're so bent on trying to prove a difference in opinion and therefore to say, so we don't have to face the most accurate way. That's what you really want to prove. That we don't have to face the most accurate way. You can face a less accurate way on purpose. That would be your point. So bent on trying to prove a difference in opinion, you wound up telling me that what I'm arguing is the dominant saying in the Hanafi school. So then I became arguing with you, saying to you, that, all right, then take the dominant saying in the Hanafi school. Uh, but, okay, now, uh, to be fair, he responded to me here. He said to me, dominant saying does not necessarily mean. He responded afterwards, not the same time, afterwards, since he responded. He said, dominant saying does not necessarily mean the strong saying. That could be true. I'm not super versed in Hanafi school, but yani, that's familiar. But there's still a greater issue here, which is this is really what I wanted to mention now. You're not realizing that you are arguing for turning away from the Qibla on purpose. Why? Why you want to do that? Why you want to be on purpose less than accurate? Why you want to be sloppy in your religion? Why you want to encourage other Muslims to be less than accurate in their religion? Because looks like you have issue in your heart. Looks like you might be smitten with arrogance. So, difference in opinion, if there is or if there isn't, you are telling me now. You want to argue why a person should be able to turn away from the Qibla on purpose. Yani, so what I'm saying to you then is, you want to argue why you can be sloppy in your religion. I'm saying, come on, y'all, let's all be sloppy together. So that we can all be together and then say to those guys, look at you. We must not be wrong. Look at how many of us have agreed to do the same thing. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Allah knows best. We'll stop there. Any question?
Sheikh,
Yes.
the ones who claim about both directions being valid, have you ever seen that fatwa they claim there's a fatwa
No, I
for it?
never saw the fatwa.
Okay.
Doesn't matter though. Yani, because somebody can write up some fatwa and put something on there, especially these days. This is not something difficult to manufacture. But even if it came from, let's say, Azhar, for example, the real issue here is sticking to the actual proofs. Fatwa needs evidence. Fatwa is not evidence. Fatwa needs evidence. So you can tell me they gave the fatwa. I'm telling you it's a mistake. Then you're going to tell me, who am I to tell you it's a mistake? I'm going to tell you I'm a person who learned the rule. Then if you tell me you think they don't know the rule, I'm going to say to you, whatever they know, this is a mistake. Whether they know the rule, they don't know the rule. This is a mistake. So for me, this is going to turn into a discussion about the proofs of the issue, not who said what. Proofs means ayahs from the Quran, hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ. And proofs in this issue, when we say ayahs from the Quran, means I'm going to be sticking to the North Star. وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. I'm not letting go of North Star for my argument. And he is not clinging to North Star for his argument. Not at all. The only thing he can do with the North Star is to say, I can use the North Star because all I have to do is decide that I'm going to face Northeast and then use the North Star to find Northeast. And then I'll use the North Star to face my Qibla. I'm going to say to him, you are not using the North Star properly here, because the North Star itself also tells you if you are further north from somewhere else. I'm avoiding saying higher north. But if that doesn't confuse you, if you're not going to think that north is up, I can say higher. The higher the North Star is, the higher north you are. And the North Star is higher where we are than it is where the Kaaba is. So we are higher north than the Kaaba by the North Star. So you cannot use North Star to face Northeast validly. This is what it means, Yani, to argue by the proofs. The proofs. Not to argue by, they're going to want the argument to be who said. They're going to want the argument to be who said. You're going to make the argument be the proof is, not who said. No. Barakallahu fikum. Always look forward to this lesson here. MashaAllah. I find it so exhilarating. Ameen wa fiq. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك